Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back. So I want to post another video of some rolling stock here. As I said before, I recently purchased some stuff off of a friend, so I've been buying in lots. And basically what I do is I get this stuff, decide what I want to keep, work on it for myself, and then turn around and sell off what I don't want. But first, of course, I weather it, and that's turned out to be a nice little way of making some profit off of this as well. But a lot of these cars I have been keeping because they're in particular cars that I've been looking for, or are hard to find, or are ones that I've really always wanted but have never really gotten around to actually buying or finding. So I've got a lot more cars like that, and lots of interesting pieces here, even some custom built cars that I'll show here a little later. As for locomotives, I only have one I'll show, but I'll get around to that in a second. But the first car I want to show you guys here is one that I recently got from a friend. He actually sent this to me for free to work on and keep, which was very nice of him. This is an ACF OMYA covered hopper. These are pretty common to this day, though they're a bit dirty. And you can see I tried to weather this one off of some prototype photos of the real 51609. And these cars get this really cool rust halo effect on the roofs, and it kind of just streaks down the sides, and the panel lines get all darkened up, as you can see. Then of course the underbody gets completely filthy, as you can see. But I just tried to do my best with copying from the photos. The weathering on this car, lighting's not that great. There we go. And you can see all the nice little effects that I was able to get. Lots of little rust streaks and stuff like that. All the grime streaking down or just starting to. I put the safety stripes on the side, which, as you guys know, is pretty much standard on any of these cars. I also tried to beat up the logo a little bit here with some white washes and a little bit of sandpaper, just to make it look a little bit beat up so it's not so clean and new looking. And you can see I just did that all down the side. And then on the ends, I really tried to weather this. I could have used an airbrush to blast in there, but I wanted to stick with more of a hand rusting effect. That way I can have like the streaking lines and everything like that. So what I decided to do is use washes to go in there and just darken all of this interior up, and then I followed behind with the dry brushing techniques, and that seemed to work pretty effectively for this. I also installed the new KD couplers to this as well, because the Atlas couplers suck ass, so I usually change those out as soon as I get them. But you can see the roof walks and all that are nicely weathered up. And then on this side, it's kind of hard to handle these cars the way I pick up models from the bottom sills because of all that pipe work on these. But anyways, here's the other side. In fact, I'll turn it this way again so you have better lighting. On this side, I tried to do the patchwork, and you can see that it's just a very light bit, so it's starting to rust over a little bit. But you can see that patchwork I did on the side, which I think is a neat little effect. That came out a little bit, relatively well, in my opinion. Also, you got the little bits of tagging here and there. But it's a really nice modern covered hopper that I got, and it looks very good. So I'm just now waiting for the OMYA cars to come out from Athearn. The tank cars will be coming here, I think, next year. So I'm just patiently waiting for those like everybody else. Anyways, that's the OMYA covered hopper, excuse me. I also got some really cool CNW patch outs. Now, these are always fun to do. And I recently picked one of the Athearn patch jobs, the NOKL 819219, and I pretty much weathered this one off of the photos and put the graffiti on it, put the old placards for the fertilizer, touched the did a bit of rusting on the patches, as you can see, but it's not too extensive. And then you got all of the fertilizer streaking down the sides. But I think the hardest part on these covered hoppers is doing all of the underbody work, because it's just a matter of spraying the grime in there and then doing all of the washes and all of the grime work with a brush. It takes a while, but it looks good in the end. And then you can see on the top here the rusting of the grime. Tried to keep the hatches relatively clean, but just tried to tone them down just a little bit, make them look dull. And then I got a replacement primer gray hatch there, and then again you can see all of the washes running down the sides from underneath the hatches and the walkways there, which is a nice little effect. Again, on this car I used mainly washes to weather the interior, and then I followed behind with the dry brushing techniques to do all of the kick up and stuff on the interior or the ladder cages. But you can kind of see it more prominently on this end. You can sort of see it. It looks pretty good, very effective. And then on this side, again, pretty much the same, although I did try to do a little bit more graffiti because it was on the prototype. So there's the graffiti, as you can see. I think it looks really good. and that's all hand painted. I tried to beat up the logo a little bit more on this side too. You can see there's a few little rust dots coming through or bleeding through the patchwork, which is just basically rust that was underneath the patch additionally. Because, you know, they don't really grind this down or anything. They just mask off the area and then spray it on, so the rust eventually kind of bleeds through the patchwork. And then I just, you know, finish the tagging, put the shady striping on, all of that nice stuff. And of course, weathered the trucks real nicely. You can see they look very good. And that's a combination with the acrylic work, a lot of dry brushing effects, chalks and powders on the wheels to do that. And it's pretty much my standard method for wheels now, and it looks very, very good. It's very convincing. So that's the C&W, the FMC car I've done. The second one is a really nice Athearn car. These are really hard to find. These were done by a guy, I'm not sure who, but he did it. He got a whole bunch of these cars and then put the custom graphic work on these. So this is the AOK 1815-17. It's pretty heavily weathered, and you got a lot of grain streaks down the sides. And you can see how heavy it is. I really tried to focus on that with the acrylic washes and then followed behind with the powders to do this. I put the safety stripes on the sides, as you can see, and you can just barely see the C&W logo coming through the side there. Of course, the underbody's beat to hell. You can see all of the kick up, all of the grime spray. The wheels are nicely weathered up, as you can see. The roof is beat up, nicely faded down. All of the grain spill on the roof walks, all that's done very nicely. And I'll try to show you the kick up on this end here. If it comes through, it's kind of hard, but you can still see the lines relatively. You can see them in there. And then on this side, which again came out very, very nice. I'm very happy with that. You can see all the nice grime work and everything. But it's a very nice covered hopper, a nice modern representation of one of these C&W patch outs that'll be going into service here in my fleet. So those are the two C&W hoppers. Look very nice. Okay, one last covered hopper I'm going to show. You guys will remember this one for sure. I did this a couple years back. I think 2 years ago I did this AOK patch out, which is the bright safety yellow that C&W put on these. And, the story behind them was they didn't really take the time to strip the old paint, the old logos or anything like that off the car. They just sprayed the yellow to save money right over the green. And over time, since it's a pretty cheap coat of yellow, it started to peel, and you got this really cool effect of the old green paint bleeding at the top, bordering along the yellow. So this is what I ended up getting out of that. And you can see the weathering looks pretty good, but the reason I had this back out was because it was a bit outdated. I wasn't too happy with a couple things on the car, and so I went and changed a few things and updated it so that it looks, you know, it's pretty much in tune with all my other weathered covered hoppers. So I just did some extra washes on the sides. I tried to fix up a bit of patchwork here, touch up a few things, finish the rusting, touched up the patchwork a little bit, of course, worked on the underbody extensively to finish the panels and all that, worked on the ends a little bit, the underbody, and just really, again, tried to focus on, you know, getting a lot of the washes on the interior that I missed before. Stuff like that looked, in my opinion, very sloppy, and I tried to just touch that up the best I could. Also the same on the top. I also added these two replacement hatches to add some more interest to this car as well. So a bit of patchwork here and there. Of course I did some touch-up patchwork on this side as well. You can see the new data, which I had originally not added to the car, which I should have. So I replaced that. Again, just pretty much the same, touched up some paint work here and there. Finished the grime work and all the rusting on the sides, and it looks pretty good now, and it's pretty much up to date with all my other cars, so I'm pretty happy with it. So that's the AOK 1107-6 for the last time here. I'll go ahead and put that to the side. This car in the background here is a TZ PR flat car, which I got. This is an old Atlas Trainman car. It's kind of hard to find these, but I got this off of my friend. He sold it to me dirt cheap. So I just did the rust effects, grimed it up real good, put the safety striping on it. You can see all the little rust spots on the sides, all that. The wheels are nicely weathered, even though they're kind of hard to see. They are weathered pretty extensively. And then on the deck, which is my favorite part of the car, you can see I added the wood, the wood cross ties there on the deck, which are bolted down, which look really nice. Added the new KD scale couplers to this. And then I just did a lot of wash effects, a lot of dry brushing, and then chalk and powder effects to do the aging on the deck, which looks pretty effective. And then the same pretty much on this side. There's not really too much to be said about it. You know, I just, you know, spent a lot of time doing it. I think it took me about 2 or 3 hours to do this. And for a flat car, that's quite a bit of time, but I still, you know, really try to make it look good. So lots of washes and stuff on the underbody as well. A little bit of overspray here and there, but it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. But that's the flat car I have. I have a TTX 89-foot flat I'll be working on later, but I'll save that for another video because it's still got I still got to do some work to it. But that's the first flat car I've gotten so far, and I'm pretty happy with it. Another car I just recently picked up, which I found on eBay, another one of these rare blue UTLX LPG cars, and as I've said 100 times before, I'm a real sucker for these blue Union Carbine painted LPG cars. So again, I didn't change the number on this one. I decided to keep it like it was, and just weather it off of prototype photos. You can see the trucks and everything, all the underbody kick up, pretty much a standard fade on the car, taking away from that real shiny dark blue, making it a really light blue. You got a bit of a graffiti patch up here. Put the safety striping on the car, as you can see, is turning dark orange now. It's aged up pretty well. And then you can see the rusting around the panels, on the walkway, all that. I updated the LPG stencils, as you can see. You got a few little patches here and there, and then the new LPG, which are LPG non-odorized stencils, which is important to do on these cars. They are all required to have them, so I've really tried to put in an effort of getting these LPG cars made up and then putting the correct data on them to get them up to date. But that came out pretty good, and then again the nice rust work on the trucks and the wheels and all that. And then on the ends, all the kick up. Couplers nicely weathered, of course. The top came out really nice. You can see all the fading and all of the rust streaking and all that. And then on this side, not too much to be said, just about the same. Less patchwork though, I just try to keep it relatively simple. And then just focus on some rust spots here and there, some streaking here and there, LPG stencils, and then the light weathering. And you can see it looks pretty good. Pretty happy with that. So that'll be going into service here, hauling LPG. Let's see. I'm kind of not sure which one to start with here, but I got 3 tank cars that I recently custom built, and were quite the projects for sure. There's a lot to be said, but I'll try to get through these as fast as I can to kind of wrap this video up. The first one I'm going to show you guys is a custom built PROCOR early LPG car. Now this is a Canadian built PROCOR LPG, so this is a bit off kilter to what I normally do. I actually started with a Walthers LPG tank car kit and extensively reworked this with new underbody details, a whole number of additional details added, new ends retrofitted onto there, and then of course the new walkways, ladders, railings, and all that. But I basically did this off of photos to try to, I copied it the best I could, and I added the new underbody bolster, panel, and railings and all that on both ends, and then added the new trucks. On the underbody, I did the detail work according to prototype photos. It's only got the one brake line running under the body here, and then there's no anti-personnel railings on the sides here. You can see it's just bare, which is pretty cool. It's one of the features of these early cars before they had the anti-personnel railings on the sides, which is a requirement to all modern tank cars nowadays. But I added all that. All of the work on the ends here, the railings, the brake work, the ladders are all made from scratch, from brass wire, photo etch pieces, and all that. And then the same thing on this end as well. And you can see on the top here, these have the walkways running along the top, which I scratch built from some spare photo etch walkway platforms, and then I made the stanchions from styrene and made the handrails themselves from brass wire, and I just worked it all the way down the side of the car, did all of these stanchions, all of the supports from styrene, and then I also got the custom hatch, modified that, added that to the car, and then I got the custom personnel walkway platform on the end there, which is a pretty much simplified part, but it is prototypical for this car, and it looks pretty cool. So once I did all the detailing and the building was completed, I custom painted this car, put all of the decals on, and you can see I tried to do a really, really beat up PROCOR car with that rust hue going on the top, and you can see I got all of the LPG stencils done, all of that's done, some patchwork here and there, the new placards, safety striping, graffiti, All kinds of work there, all the data and all that, which I got from multiple microscale sheets. And then the PROCOR logo, as you can see, is really beat up and it's starting to bleach pretty good and starting to streak. So that looks really nice, really effective. Then there's the end real quick. You can see the kick up. I also added the coupler bars and the air hoses to this as well. A nice little detail touch to make it look a little extra detailed. On this side, again, about the same, just a lot of rust work, a lot of that, and then a little bit of graffiti here and there, as you can see. A lot of patchwork, and then the LPG stenciling, safety striping, and all that. And then again, there's the detailing on this end. But that's the one and only early LPG car I've done, a PROCOR version of the car, and I think it looks really cool. I think I'm very happy with it. It was very time consuming. Oh yeah, and I also beat up the logo on this side too. You can see it's really scratched up. Really try to make that look especially detailed. So that came out pretty good. But that's the PROCOR LPG car I custom built, modified, and painted up. It looks pretty good. So that car will be also going into service hauling the LPG. The second car I built was a modern PROCOR acid car, which these are being cranked out by the number or in quantity right now. These are rebuilt cars that are going in. They're getting the new end shields, the new walkways, and the new railings at the top, and of course brand new paint jobs. So all this on the top of this car was custom built from styrene, photo etch, and brass wire, all of it. And got the new hatch as well, which is a custom part which I made. Very time consuming, mind you. And then of course the end shields on the car, you can see those. I scratch built those from styrene and then added the supports and added that to the car on both ends. Added the coupler bars, the new air hoses, the new couplers, and then as for the rest of the car body here, I added the new ladder and then the new brake rigging on the bottom, which was also very time consuming. Many hours were put into this car, even though it's very small. It looks very good though, and I'm very happy with it. I'll definitely won't be building another one of these though, that's for sure. It's just kind of one of those more unique cars, one-of-a-kind cars I wanted to have in my collection, to model one of these unique tank cars. So again, I tried to make this look relatively brand new, at least, you know, maybe only a couple months old. So I put a fresh paint job on it, nice high gloss finish. New decals and all that, again combined from multiple decal sheets, mostly microscale and highball graphic sheets, new placards, and then the wheels are nice and rusty and brand new and fresh. Same thing with the couplers, so that's acrylic and powder work to do that effect. And the same thing on this end, and then on this side here, again about the same, but just a relatively nice, fresh, clean looking car that'll be going into service hauling sulfuric acid. But it's a really neat little car, I'm really happy with it. So that's the PROCOR acid car. Now the last tank car and the last car I will show you for this video is probably the most time consuming and the hardest one to build altogether. This is a PROCOR dual compartment tank car. And so there's a lot to be said about here. I'll try to blaze through this as fast as I can. So to build one of these, I took a 17K Walther's Trinity tank car, cut the middle section out, combined the two ends back together, added the new ends to it, put the reinforcing bracing on both ends of the car body. That was the first thing. Now keep in mind, I'd stripped all of the details, all of the walkways, all of this was off the car. It was literally just a tank body for the beginning. So I had to fabricate new bolsters, and I had to do all of the railings, all of the underbody detailing, all of the walkways, the ladders, end railings, all of that stuff was built from scratch. From styrene, brass, photo etch, you name it, I built it from scratch. It was very time consuming. It took me literally like a week to build this thing, but it's another one of those really unique, one-of-a-kind cars I wanted to have. So real quick, I'll show you what I did on the underbody. Sorry about that, I hit the camera. All of the underbody detailing, including the dual compartment, what would you call it, the end caps, or the little piece there, all that was scratch built. All of the underbody detailing is made from scratch. All of the individual little components, supports, all that was made from brass wire. All that was scratch built. Anti-personnel railings were made from scratch. The new placards were made from scratch. The new bolster contour there on the tank made from scratch. Put the new Walther's Trex on there. And then the same thing on this end too. Also I added the coupler bars and the air hoses, the new couplers, all the new brake piping, the rigging, all that was built from scratch. On the tops here, I had to make the hatches, the special compartments. I made those from scratch, and I made the relief valves also from scratch, from styrene. Very, very rigorous, or tedious, if you will. And then you can see the railings are also all made from scratch from brass wire. It took me several hours, about a day's worth of work to do all the top railing work, which is all fabricated brass wire, but it looks very good, very convincing, and I just tried to really make sure it was nice and straight and everything lined up right. It was very tedious, but it came out good. And then I got the new ladder on the side there as well. And of course, once I actually built this thing, then I custom painted it, heavily weathered it, did some patchwork, put the decals on, and you can see these have been going through, these particular cars are low numbered in the fleet, and so this one's numbered PROCOR 129. I got all the new data on there. The PROCOR logo itself was recently repatched and repainted on this car, and then you can see it's got also some more patchwork on the sides, and then it's got all the new data, all the tank dimensions, and all the tank inspection decals are recently done. And like I said, this is a dual compartment car. I think this is, I forget what it hauls, but it's not fuel oil anymore. This is hauling some sort of resin. So this is a really cool little car though, and it looks really neat. It's a very unique model, and it's definitely one of the most labor-intensive tank cars I've ever built, but it's definitely one of the coolest. So on this side, again, it's about the same, just a lot of detail features I did again, and then just lots of patchwork, decaling, all that, just another step in detail work to this car I had to do to make it look right. But that's my one and only PROCOR dual compartment tank car, which is 2 separate tanks. It looks really cool. I'm really happy with that. But these are the 3 tank cars, and I keep in mind I had built all 3 of these about the same time, so when I was working on one car, I would take a break and then work on this one, and then work on the LPG, you know, and then I pretty much custom painted them and decaled them around the same time, and then I weathered them around the same time as well to get those done. But those are the 3 custom built tank cars I've done, and I'm pretty happy with them. I'll do some more custom built tank cars later on, but for now these are the first 3 fruits of my labor, so I'm pretty happy with those. So to finish up this video, I'm also working on a locomotive. Up top here is another model of CSX 8888, which I picked up in from a hobby shop in California. I had it shipped to me here, and you can see I've done quite a bit of extensive detail work to this so far. I've got all of the prototypical details added. I got the new ditch lights, all the plow details, the new nose details, took the class lights off. I did the rotating bearing caps on the trucks, as you can see. The new fuel tank details are added. All that's done. Put the safety striping on there. Got the new darkened grills. All the new appropriate cab details are added. I still got to add the whiplash antenna, that's the only thing, and then the new sun visors as well. Or not the sun visors, but the rear view mirrors are added to this. And then the same thing on this side. So this one will be getting weathered up here pretty soon, and I will be weathering it and then selling it to one lucky person. Also, it has DCC as well, so this will be going out the door here pretty soon when it's finished. Okay, so last thing I want to show you guys, along with working on model trains, I've also been working on building a second module for my photography, and this one I recently completed. This is the one I put the most work into so far, and like I said, this is the second module I've built, and it is actually built on a shelf, or a piece of a shelf, one of the boards, or a piece of shelving rather, and I put the styrofoam on top. I built up a grade with the foam, and I then put the track on and did all the scenery. Basically what I was trying to go for with this, you're probably wondering, here in Ohio and Indiana, relatively in this area, you'll have sections of track that become elevated when they go through towns. For example, the nearest track like this that I was kind of referring to when I made this is in Delaware, Ohio, which is to the south of us near Columbus. And the track, which is the former C&O line, gets elevated going into Delaware, Ohio, and then on into Columbus, just to avoid heavy traffic in that area. So what they did was they built the track up high on this extended roadbed, and I'm sure they do this in other places to go through the town. So I tried to model that single track main line here with that idea in mind. So it took a little bit of figuring out, but I got the contours just right, cut some pieces of foam, glued them down, and then I did an extensive amount of plaster work to make this look, you know, relatively hilly. And of course did the plaster to create the nice smooth slope in the slope along the bottom of the track as well for drainage, as you can see. Lots of neat little bits of detail work there, but you can see that hilly effect I was really trying to go for, especially like right in here. You can see those hills, and basically the effect that I'm going for, if you can put a camera down here, take this module out to my local reservoir and get a good background, basically a sky background, you can take a model like this tank car, put it on the track, and essentially you get a really cool elevated track effect for these cars. Pretty sweet, huh? So that was my idea, and I think it came out pretty good. And honestly, this has been my best scenery. I tried not to overload it. The ballast work was the hardest part, but I ended up using some scenic glue, and that really helped tack this stuff down. You can see it's solid as a rock. No pun intended. But I also added a few trees here and there to mix up the scenery a little bit. Got some bushes along the tracks. You can see I did a little bit of sand and some earth colors to try to make it look like the very base underneath all that rock, that sand material that they use. And then of course lots of little bushes. I really tried to change up the scenery and go for a burnt grass effect on the scenery here as well. But again, you can see the ballast just runs along there. It goes all over the place. And then on this side, I did some neat little detail effects. So you got the old code line running along. You can see the one pole's higher at the end, and then they start to kind of go down, as you can see. And then you get into these trees here, and then all the way to the other end here. And I really tried to beat these up. I'm a fan of code line itself. I collect insulators and stuff like that. So I've always had a fascination with code line myself. So I tried to really make these detailed. So I did lots of weathering effects on the poles themselves, tried to make them look really beat up. Did lots of washes and stuff like that. And of course you got the cut lines there from where code line used to be that they cut. So now it's just one individual line running here. And that's on all of these poles, as you can see. But again, the scenery just, it really came out really nice. I'm very happy with it. This could literally fit into a model railroad, and you can run a train on it. And honestly, I probably could do that if I built more modules. That would be the way to go. The only downside with this thing is it's very heavy. Like I said, I used the shelving, which I probably shouldn't have used, but it's what I had on hand. I got to touch up some more paint here. You can see this foam here kind of started chipping really bad, so I got to touch that up. But again, just some little details here and there. I might add some more. If I had some cross ties, I like to just kind of scatter those around. But you can see the trees there. I also custom built this signal here, this single target signal. You can see this is all scratch built from styrene and brass wire. So it was a nice little detail, trackside detail I wanted to add to this module. But that's what I came up with. But you can see it's pretty much ready to go. Just a few more little detail effects, and then I'll be able to take this to my reservoir and get some photographs of some more models. So it'll look really cool. So I'll be using this one for that kind of photography with like a background, full skyscape. And then the other one I'll just keep using here in my backyard for kind of forest or trackside work or anything like that. Oh yeah, there's a squirrel right there. Hopefully it doesn't crawl up on my foot or something. Anyways, that's the module. So hopefully I can get some cool photographs of that, and I'll show you guys some photos later on. But that pretty much wraps up this video, guys. I'll have some more videos coming. I got a bunch more rolling stock I got to work on, of course. Keep an eye on my Facebook page. You guys can check me out if you already aren't. Dan's Custom Trains is my Facebook page. My name is Daniel Arnold. You guys can look me up on there and follow my work if you'd like. Be sure to keep watching my videos as well. I'll have some more coming soon. But until next time, this is hopefully enough for you guys, and stay tuned for more. Take care.